to Full Throttle on Unprecedented TV, the show that lifts the bonnet and rummages around inside to find out what things are affecting British drivers. This week we're joined by financial expert and founder of MoneyMagpie.com, Jasmine Birtles. Jasmine is here to break down the fallout from Rachel Reeves' latest budget. We'll start with what it means for motorists, then widen out to explain how the budget and net zero policies are affecting households across the UK. So buckle up, it's Full Throttle.
Whether you're a commuter, a parent, or just someone trying to make sense of the rising costs that we're currently enduring, this episode is packed with insights. Jasmine will guide us through the hidden impacts on everyday drivers, as well as the bigger picture for British finances and net zero measures. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Jasmine.
Hello.
Hello, Jasmine.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you want to just say a little bit about yourself and Money Magpie before we get into the guts of the program?
Yeah, absolutely. Now with MoneyMagpie.com, it's been going for a few years now. It's been going for 15 years, can you believe? Wow. And it covers all aspects of personal finance, but particularly now we're focusing on investing because I and my whole team, we're all very concerned about our lack of investment in this country. And so this is something we're doing in a big way at the moment. If you go to moneymagpie.com, you can sign up to the newsletters totally free. And we do have an investing newsletter. And we're particularly aiming at people who know they ought to invest, but don't. And that's, I think, about 95% of the adults in this country. Most of us know we ought to invest, but we're not doing it because we don't know where to start, frankly.
Yeah, and I think certainly we're much better investing on our own behalf than letting Rachel Reeves invest it in government projects that are all going to crash and burn.
Yeah, and this it's a very good point because one of the things not her finest hour, really not her finest hour.
No.
But there's a really big problem that we have in this country and across the West, which is the mounting number of older people that we have, older people who are taking the state pension and the reducing number of younger working people who can support them. And I want to make this clear because I have to say it took me a while to realize this fact. And I was pretty shocked when it dawned on me. When we put money into national insurance, when you're working and some of your salary goes into national insurance, that gives you the right to have a state pension. Now, I always assumed, when I first started working, that there was this sort of little pot of money, that all the money I put in was put into a pot for me for later on, and that would pay my pension. No, not at all. It's a Ponzi scheme. The money goes straight out to pay for the older people. And that means that you need a lot of people working to be able to pay that and then later on be paid for yourself. Because basically, when we retire, there's nothing. There is no pot. We just have to hope the working people do it.
Absolutely, Jasmine. The way things are going, I mean, my background is in manufacturing industry. The industry that I was involved in was titanium pigments, which is a huge energy consumer because the most efficient process for making it uses an oxygen plasma, so huge temperatures, magnetic fields to contain the plasma to actually create the reaction that creates the pigment. And that factory has gone into receivership, been sold to the Chinese.
Yeah.
On the northeast coast, sort of 15 miles from where I live. And the owner originally, which was originally an ICI company, has gone through a series of owners, including Huntsman Group, Venator, and now it's Billion, which is some Chinese company. And of course, the policies adopted by Mad Ed Miliband are just making things worse.
Yes, of course, that's very true. But so what you're saying is that there are fewer people working, fewer jobs, This is a big problem that we have, and so the thing is that what I would like to see from the government is a series of incentives and educational processes and products that will enable and encourage people to invest for themselves. because literally there isn't going to be the money in the future. I mean, there isn't really the money now. You know, this is why we've got such an enormous debt. We're spending 120 billion pounds a year on interest payments alone on our national debt. And this is just getting bigger because, you know, current government is borrowing and borrowing. And if we're going to meet the triple lock, there's going to be a huge amount of more of borrowing, and we just can't do it. So people need to invest for themselves. And this budget, apart from the ISA element, that was quite clever, I think, sort of trying to encourage people out of cash ISAs into stocks and shares ISAs, which I approve of. Apart from that, there was nothing. In fact, the salary sacrifice element will put people off. It stops people putting so much money ahead for their future. So this is bad news for the future. We need to get people investing. I did something on this on Instagram. My Instagram, by the way, Jasmine Birtles. Come and follow me. Thank you. Let's just slip that in. Just really noticed. And I did something, you know, I talk quite a lot about the fact that we have a crisis with these state pension. And I had somebody from Austria who commented and said, in Austria, they don't have a problem because everybody's invested for themselves. They've been doing it for decades. They've got good pensions. They've got good investments. So the state pension's like, it's what it should be, which is just an extra.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, the key thing is you have to have an industry or industries for young people to go into. And our industrial base is just being decimated. And
well, I agree.
Not just the prime manufacturing; it's the supplier support industries that help those industries to flourish. The
areas that benefited from the recent budget were either those that are out of work or the public sector. Now, the public sector doesn't make anything; it's a public servant. So,
well, exactly. It's
a tricky one.
This is Labour, this is socialist policies, is big government, lots of borrowing, and the rich will pay, you know, which doesn't work. But I tell you what, I've just done a podcast. It's going out on Monday on my YouTube channel, Money Magpie Finance. Did you see how I slipped that in? Did you?
Money Magpie Finance. We picked up on it.
Just
Charlotte, charge her for an advert.
Well, I interviewed the economist Vicky Price, who's a good woman, and she has written a book with a friend of hers, Andy, and I've forgotten his surname, but another economist, and it's called Mismanaged Decline. And it's sort of the things that politicians say which aren't true, and what they should be saying and they can't because they would be thrown out if they did, etc. And one of her big themes is that we need to have manufacturing, that being a service industry country is not good enough. And of course, you look at Poland. Poland is doing phenomenally well. I mean, it's going to be potentially it's going to be the biggest economy in Europe in a few years' time. Well, getting past Germany. I mean, Germany's pretty much destroyed itself with its net zero nonsense.
Exactly, following the same policies as Netherlands.
Oh, it's insane. So, but with Poland, they didn't get rid of their manufacturing. Vicky was telling me that for a long time they were producing stuff specifically for Germany. It's ironic, isn't it? Because you know they were producing them cheaper than Germany, but now they can do the more expensive stuff. They're doing it, you know, worldwide. It's an absolute powerhouse. And we could be that. And it gives the lie to the idea, which I've subscribed to for so long, that we can't compete with Asia. Well, Poland shows that you can. If you're going to do, you know, you actually, if you have the will and you're going to do the work, you actually can compete. And we've always been known, well, for a long time, we've been known for high grade manufacturing. I remember years ago doing a talk for the Cast Metals Association. See, I know how to live. Very glamorous life I live. Thank you very much. And they told me that the British manufacturers did the high-end stuff, particularly for the Formula One cars and all that. So that's what they were known for. I don't know that they're known for that. I don't even know if there are many cast metals companies around anymore. I mean, that was about 15 years ago. So, you know.
I think they've been under continuing and intensifying threat because of energy costs, basically.
Yes. Insanity, absolute insanity. I mean, we're talking the same language here. It makes me so furious that we have not only the most expensive energy in Europe, the most expensive energy in the world, it seems. And as you say, Mad Ed Millipede, he's trying to make it even worse.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear to more and more people that net zero is a complete con. One of the many cons we've had, in the last decade or so. I mean, COVID being the biggest, in my opinion, but net zero probably, equal in size because it affects the whole world, certainly the whole of the West. The developing countries, they're a bit more sensible, ignore it largely. But, we think we know better. Clearly, we don't.
I mean, we as an organisation, Brian, we acknowledge that the climate is changing, but it always has.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just part of the cycle of what's been going on for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we're living in a time where we've got all the technology where it looks like a problem. It's not a problem. It's just nature. And there's nothing that we can do to alter it the way that we're going about doing it. And all that we're going to be doing by adopting the same as Germany have adopted is making ourselves bankrupt as a nation. We're crazy.
Yes. And I do want to know who that benefits. Is it China, because is the long-term plan, and as you know, China has very long-term plans, is the long-term plan to just come into the European countries and buy them up cheap? Literally, that's
and certainly the things that they're doing with electric cars. I mean, they're selling all of these vehicles at a loss in order to actually drive European manufacturers out of business, and the EU is helping them with its stupid policies on internal combustion engine vehicles. And the Chinese are just great. Okay, we can take the losses because there's 1.2 billion of us, and we can spread it out, and we control the economy anyway, totally, the Chinese. And they're just decimating the European car industry and European manufacturing industry. And until we wise up and start actually using the energy resources that we've got in the North Sea, leveraging them to maximize our access to cheap energy, we're going to keep falling behind.
Absolutely. And it did make me laugh, I have to say. I'm sorry to all the EV drivers, but when Rachel Reeves announced that pay per mile tax on EV drivers, I thought, that's so typical. It's what they did with diesel drivers, wasn't it? Said, everyone has to have...
They hook you on something and then they tax you. It's like a rope-a-dope.
Yes, rope-a-dope. Yes, gosh.
Absolutely. And I mean, even that's not necessary, because if you think about it, you fill a car with fuel, whether it's diesel or petrol. Well, an electric car's the same. You're just replenishing the energy that's stored in the battery. So all you need to do, and all electric cars are smart, all of the energy grid is now pretty much smart. And when you connect to it, the car automatically identifies itself to the grid as an electric car. And so all that needs to be is the mandate that the energy provided to the battery of the car is charged out at a commensurate rate with a diesel or petrol vehicle. Easy peasy. No pay per mile. Infrastructure's all there. Nothing else you need to do. Simples, as the guy says on the... But of course, no, they also, and again, it fits in with the sort of socialist, command control, want to know exactly what you're doing, where you're going. That's what they want the pay per mile for. They're not bothered really about the energy aspects. It's a command and control thing.
Well, I always say smart. If you see smart anything, it means prison. So smartphone is prison phone. Smart cities, prison cities, definitely.
Smart motorways.
Nightmare motorways. What I mean, are they still doing smart motorways? Because
they're not supposed to be, but they seem to be doing it on the sly. I mean, the accident figures. I remember being at a meeting with the Highways Agency in Durham, and I asked them what the accident rates were on the sections that were smart and on the conventional ones with a hard shoulder, and they wouldn't give me the figures.
Right, it's that bad.
So I had already formed the opinion that they were a death trap. And
that's I think.
Nothing has changed that view.
Yeah, they're a nightmare.
Yeah. Anyway, we seem to we've delved quite nicely into this. We've got quite away from our original
Never mind this. Don't worry about the script.
No, whatever script. What script? Yeah.
Well, what I mean, but I'm trying to get back to the script. I'm sorry.
Go on.
What are the headline takeaways from the budget that you think really are going to affect road users?
Well,
Apart from
I
the
tell
EV.
you, yeah, I'm going to be a politician here and not answer your question, but then just to be helpful, because you see, the moment you mention the budget, I so this sort of mental twitch because what I'm thinking at the moment, I'm so cross. I've been giving that woman the benefit of the doubt. I can't tell you, Rachel from accounts, and apparently it's misogynist to say that, but what the heck, I'm a woman. But I've been saying for ages that she and Keir Starmer both know that they ought to make cuts and that they need to promote growth, but they're being stopped by their backbenchers. But this time, hearing over the weekend that she straight out lied. I mean, all right, she's a politician, fine, you expect them to lie, but not to that extent. That the idea that there's this huge black hole, and it turns out no, there isn't a black hole. In fact, she's got a little bit of surplus. I mean,
about 5 billion, wasn't it? It was about 5,
yes,
I think.
It's about 4 or 5 billion, and this has been known since September. And she's been on television, she's been on the Financial Times, going, "Oh yeah, it's terrible. We're really going to have to do all this." Yeah. Literally, I think we need a new budget. We need a new party. We need a new chancellor. It's the whole thing. This is affecting our money. Drivers, non-drivers. It's affecting our money. We are spending a whole load more money, being taken for a ride for a whole load more money, unnecessarily, totally unnecessarily. And so it's time we had a new budget. So that's my number one thing, for drivers and non-drivers.
And it's certainly unacceptable to tax people more and use that to increase health benefits.
Yes.
To the detriment of everybody else. Because what we need is an efficiently run health service. The problem with it at the moment is it's a black hole. Yeah. And a lot of the funding that goes into it is to pay gold-plated pensions for the top management. Yes. And we need to take an axe to the top management, take them out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
replace them with efficient managers and manage them efficiently.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right about that. And when you were talking about the civil servants as well, our big government, again, we've got a huge problem coming down the track, paying the gold-plated pensions of the civil servants.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all gone up thanks, just in the last year, thanks to Labour giving money to their cronies in the civil service, etc. It's very upsetting.
Yeah, and it's really, really annoying because at one stage, civil service was arguing, we need our good pensions because we're paid less than manufacturing industry. They've decimated manufacturing industry and incomes in manufacturing industry. Mm-hmm. So they've got better income and better pensions now.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all paying for it.
Yes, and they're not doing the work. I mean, anytime you go into a council, you know just how little they're working. There's nobody there after 5 o'clock. They've all absolutely gone. Nobody does overtime. They don't work extra. They just do the absolute minimum that they have to do. I know I've been dealing with councils quite a lot myself recently. So okay.
I'm chuckling because I don't think Brian even knows this, but many, many years ago, my first job was with the civil service, and I was a civil servant for the best part of 4 years. As an admin assistant, working for the Ministry of Defence in Shropshire. And I would say that there was probably 4 people to every one job. So in other words, it was overstaffed by at least 3 people. Yeah. And we had a clocking in system, and you could be as much as a day and a half over at the end of the clocking in period, which is monthly. So people would, like you say, they'd come in at 10, they'd have 2 hours for lunch, go home at 4. And they'd do that for a couple of weeks. Then they'd have such a deficit that they'd have to stay there from 7:30 in the morning till 6 at night. But because there's nobody about, they would do very little. So it was the most unproductive organisation I've ever worked for.
I'm sure, yes. And we're all paying, as you said, we're all paying for it. I apologise if you see a cat tail, by the
way. We've been promised a guest appearance, and
what Paul's just said proves that phrase from Ronald Reagan. The worst thing you can hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
Exactly. Yes, it's totally true.
Yeah, so it's a bad thing. I think the biggest thing to come out of the budget for me was that everything that they said they were going to do, they didn't.
Yes.
Every sort of promise that they made that they weren't going to raise taxes, they went against that. So for me, if they've got in on a mandate of doing things a certain way and they've not lived up to that, then they've got into government on false pretenses.
Yeah.
And for me, we don't need a new budget. We need a new general election.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
It should be cancelled.
Yes.
If they've lied, they've cancelled
Yes.
it, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never known a government to be so unpopular so fast. I mean, it took weeks for them to happen, which is extraordinary. And much of it is to do with communication. You know, they are appalling. Apart from anything else, most of the cabinet sound like they need a really good nose blow. Have you noticed they're all talking like this?
There's two things. They're all very nasal, but also instead of saying the word to, I'm going to, it's I'm going to. They just say, you listen out for it. There's so many of them that do it. Reeves does it all the time. Yeah,
that's a funny one. But yes, I agree, because and I've been saying from this pretty much the get-go that they're not going to get past 2026. Nigel Farage is saying 2027, but I mean, who knows? I think the Reform Party, although they're riding really high in the polls, they need extra time to get themselves together, because you know, they need MPs and they need people who are not swivel-eyed loonies, and that's quite hard, I think, in politics. And this is one of the problems with the Labour Party. They've got so many MPs who've got in that there's quite a high quotient of nonsense there. I mean, real rubbish. People with no experience of anything much at all. You know, sort of nursery school teachers and whatever. And this potentially could be the same with Reform. They could have, you know, goodness knows who, your weird next door neighbour who's managed to get in. So
I think the positive
a worry, but I mean, it's certainly true that there's they've got such a huge majority, and the hard left is really driving.
Yes,
Starmer won't stand up to the hard left, nor will Reeves. And they don't seem to understand basic economics. That if you spend a lot more than you earn, and you're in debt, and the debt is mounting, and you can't even, you're ending up financing the repayments of debt, and you're not growing. Ultimately, somebody will call in the chips, and then you're really in the brown.
Well, exactly. And my feeling, to be honest, is that that is going to happen, and it's going to be at that point that whoever is in power is going to be able to say, right, look, seriously, there is no money, that we can't borrow anymore, there is no money, we are going to have to make cuts. And at that point, there are going to be some really nasty decisions to be made. And some people won't survive that. I mean, literally, that's the way it feels, but it will be a proper kind of a reset, I think. I mean, the other possibility is that if by then there is some sort of CBDC, horrendous thoughts, central bank digital currency, they might bring that in and say, right, we're going to sort everything out by having a central bank digital currency, and then we'll have universal basic income to sort out some of the people who are on very low income, you know, and that would be a nightmare, I think.
It does feel that we're not far from that.
In effect, that's what's happening in Europe now. You've not seen this thing that they're by, I think it's 2028, you won't be able to have any cash above 10,000 euro. And they will monitor what you're spending. And control it. Well, this is dystopian. It's, you know, socialism on steroids.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, hands on heart here, I voted to remain in the Brexit vote. I'm now very pleased that we're out, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, for a start, they're horribly in debt, and we could do without that problem there. I mean, we haven't made the most of what we could have done with our independence at all. But I'm glad to be out of that. But then as you say, with this, it's as you say, it's a dystopian situation. It's basically communism by the back door. And I suspect, you know, if we carry on with Starmer, they will try and do the same here.
Absolutely.
But if we get reform or something, then they very much, well, I hope they very much won't. You would expect them not to go, oh, we must do that because Europe's doing it, and Europe really knows what it's doing, doesn't it?
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even there's, I think it's Slovenia has just passed a law that says that the use of currency is enshrined now in their law.
Good.
So they can't withdraw the currency because people are allowed to use cash.
Good.
Which completely knocks central bank CBDC on the head in that country. And
it is a cultural thing. I mean, in this country, we are using cash, not nearly as much as we used to, but there are huge swathes of country, particularly where country areas where they are. Germany, they use cash. It sounds, as you say, like Slovenia, they do. Swiss, the Swedes, as you know, they got rid of cash a while ago, and they wish they hadn't. It puts you in such a vulnerable position.
Absolutely.
All you need is one of those Cloudflare situations. All the systems go down. What are you going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the way things are going here with this digital ID idea and all your benefits and your health record and all the rest of it held in one place. Which will be hacked because we bought the code from Romania or somewhere.
Yes, there'll be open doors.
The whole economy is just going to fall over.
It absolutely is. Yes, I'm fighting this at the moment. I'm a company director, and I've said to my accountant,
we don't want digital ID.
No, exactly.
Those very sorts of reasons.
Yes, this one login nonsense is just digital ID by the back door, as you say, and we have to fight it because, as you say, there are big organizations, there's whole countries, governments, I'm assuming with the World Economic Forum, etc., behind them saying we've got to do this. But we, the people, we can say no. And all we need is about, just sort of, actually, we only need about 6% to change things around.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that long ago that we had GDPR brought in. Now, you'd have thought this goes completely against that.
Yes, good point.
It's ridiculous. But I don't know. A strange nation. But it's funny, at the start of the conversation, Jasmine, you were talking about national insurance contributions. And the way you were talking about it, I've never thought about it in this context before. It sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Exactly that.
Of course, at the time it was brought in, the working population was very large.
Yeah.
People didn't live until their 80s. Most people were dying in their 50s and 60s. So they envisaged that there's always going to be more people to pay in to today's pensioners.
Yeah.
Well,
than the pension bill is going to be. But of course, things have changed dramatically since then.
Well, you had a three-class society back then, didn't you? You had upper, middle, and working, and now you've got the not working class as well, and that's where the problem is.
And the not working class is proliferating,
and the way that it's been encouraged in the last budget as well.
Yes, I'm patron of a debt charity, and I was speaking to one of the debt advisors back in April because we had all those huge bill rises at about sort of about 8 things that went up a lot, and I said to him, "How are your clients coping?" And he said, "Well, we certainly do have some clients who are really struggling, and this is going to make it much harder for them." But he said, what I'm seeing now is that we've got a 2-tier benefit system. We've got those who are struggling, who are working, quite often, working parents, they're doing their best, they're not managing. And then he said, you've got people like, he had somebody just recently, the single parent, she's got 6 kids. She's getting 66 grand in benefits, plus all the freebies, free school meals, etc., still in debt because she wasn't managing her money properly. Another one, 5 kids, she's getting 55 grand a year, that sort of thing. And then he said he's getting clients who are coming in with a new car. And there was one who came with a new car and he said, how'd you get that? And she said, oh, well, DWP told me that if I'm feeling anxious getting on the bus, I can just, get a new car. So on the PIP system. Yeah. And so, there's people who are saying, oh, yeah, I'm feeling anxious because of my acne. Someone said she felt anxious going on the bus because she's got an inverted nipple. Gets a new car. I mean, what can you say? And this is happening every day. 300 new PIP cars are being given out every day. I mean, talking about, I've just realised, here are cars again. It's insanity, and I mean, it must be being pushed by the car manufacturing industry because they're doing very nicely out of it.
Yeah, they don't care where the money comes from. So
it seems to have been a repository, particularly for electric vehicles. That they've been pushing those because, of course, it's government policy to try to decarbonise, as they call it. But as an Oxford-educated scientist, the whole thing's just rubbish. That's for another programme, but basically it's nonsense.
But how are you going to encourage people back into work when you're giving them such perks like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly. And we have 9 million people who are economically inactive. So they're not working and they're not looking for work. We have another 1.5 million who are looking for work, but we seem to have only about 900 actual jobs. And, on the one hand, we're looking at immigration to basically bring in more young working people to shore up the elderly. But you think, okay, why do we need these extra people? Because if we've got 1.5 million people and we've only got 900 jobs, we should be freeing up some jobs, really,
Yeah.
But the problem that we have in this country is we don't have people with the right skills. Our education system's shot. People are not being educated properly. They're doing stupid media studies or gender studies nonsense. Instead of learning, as you say, actual skills. And particularly, I mean, the NHS is run by foreigners, partly because we don't have the people with the skills. And that's an insane situation. We should be concentrating on producing enough people to run the NHS and to do it, and all sorts of manufacturing.
The biggest problem with our education system, from bottom all the way, from primary school all the way up to university, is instead of being taught how to think, they're now being taught what to think.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest problem that we've got in the education system.
Absolutely. It's. I mean, I went to Cambridge and I'm appalled, and I've told my college how appalled I am at the brainwashing that's going on there.
Yes,
Cambridge and
absolutely.
Oxford, I think they're the worst. Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial, LSE, those I think are the absolute worst for brainwashing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, those universities, and I was Oxford, you were Cambridge.
I was Wolverhampton.
Absolutely, and UCL as well as another one. They're the ones who produced this ridiculous absolute zero document from UK Flyers, and with the chart that shows no commercial flying, no commercial sea freight, no airports,
no cruises,
and had to change your feeding habits. So you sort of eat cockroach pate or whatever it is. And what were they smoking when they wrote that?
No, goodness knows. Yeah, insane.
Oh dear. So in terms of what is there anything else from the budget, Jasmine, that really stood out to you that you thought this needs to stop, this needs to change straight away?
Well, the 2-child cap, that was I'm quite thinking both ways on this, because on the one hand it's encouraging the single parents with 6 kids, that I do not want to encourage that at all. This is destroying our society. But on the other hand, we need to encourage birth. I mean, I've not done my duty. I've not had kids, and I feel bad now. I used to feel quite smug about it. Now I feel really bad because we need more children. We need more kids.
Yeah. I mean, because we're not as a country, we're not producing.
I think the level
2 roughly to break even, but we're well below that. I have a feeling it's about 1.4 children per family,
and that includes immigrant families. And as you know, immigrant families tend to produce more children. So if you take them away, it'll be about 1 and 1. And you look at Japan, and Japan is kind of what we are becoming. Now, Japan didn't allow any immigration, and they have people who are living a long time, and they have our debt to GDP ratio is 100%, which is a nightmare. Theirs is 260%.
Really?
Defies gravity, doesn't it? I mean, their borrowing costs have been pretty low. They're beginning to go up a bit higher now, but there are issues happening. In fact, on my podcast, Money Magpie Finance YouTube. Slip that in. Just slip that in.
Yeah. Okay, we got it.
I interviewed Nick Hubble from South Bank Investment recently, and he lives in Japan. And he was saying about that there are various things that are happening in Japan. People are selling their assets. Japan has invested a lot across the globe, and it looks like they're starting to liquidate these, which can have a knock-on effect on various other economies, including ours. Yeah. But there's only so far that you can go with this constant borrowing, and Japan, as I say, is a really good example of what potentially could happen to us if we don't sort things out, and we're not sorting things out.
No, we're doing quite the opposite.
I'm not sure if Reform will sort it out, because their economic ideas seem to be quite socialist. Some of them, anyway. It's quite surprising. So,
I think until they're in power and they see the figures, you listen to Liam Halligan or somebody like that. We are in really dire straits, and the government and the Labour Party doesn't seem to realise that if you're in a hole, the last thing you should be doing is digging it deeper by spending more and taxing more. You need to tax less and spend less. To turn this thing around. And as you say, it's going to be very painful when it happens, but ultimately at some point it will happen.
It will. Yeah, it's going to have to. Yeah, you can't keep defying gravity and expect to stay afloat.
No. Were you surprised, Jasmine, that the cash ISA got reduced to just 12,000? Because there were talks of 4,000 at one point, I believe.
Well, true. I mean, to be honest, the whole budget was better than I expected. I mean,
me too.
I'm spitting blood now about being like, but at the time, I did a reel, Jasmine Birtles on TikTok, Jasmine Birtles on Instagram. Saying this is a lot better. She pulled it out of the bag. Good for her. She's kept the bond markets happy, and that's a whole other world of pain. Bond markets, and also kept the backbenchers happy. But I did think that the cash ISA thing. Bringing it down to 12,000. I kind of understand it. I mean, I've spent much of my career going, stop putting your money in cash, put it in stocks and shares, stocks and shares. And of course, when ISAs first started, and certainly with the ones before, PEPs, wasn't it? It was basically that you could put more into stocks and shares than you could into cash. And I thought it was a bad idea to increase the amount of cash that you could do. Clever, I thought, to say that over 65s could have the full cash thing, because that is, to be fair, that is helpful for the over 65s. But I think that the whole budget was much gentler. Maybe they did it on purpose, saying we're going to have huge tax rises.
Well, and there's so many hairs running all over the place that nobody really knew what was going to happen.
Totally.
I don't think they're that clever, to be honest.
That's a very good point. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, they're really not that clever, are they?
I think overall, the thing that disappoints me the most about this government is that it really squashes aspiration.
Yes,
everybody should be entitled to the state pension if they've worked all their life and they've got the full stamp, as people used to call it. They should be entitled to get the old age pension. Now, what's been hinted at a number of times over the last few years is that if you've got a private pension and you've got X amount of money, well, then you're not going to get all of the state pension. You've gone into your way to save that money to top that up. That should be taken away from you. I find that
absolutely, and I think that's going to happen. That's the most likely scenario. I think is that it's going to be means tested. And when it was first introduced in, what was it, something like 1910 or something, right at the beginning of the 1900s, it was for men over 70 or 75 in good standing with the public. Who were in very dire straits. So that was all it was for. It was a very limited, and then it gradually increased and to this huge behemoth. I say it's a behemoth. It costs us 124 billion pounds a year to pay it, which we can't afford. I mean, that was 2024. It's probably about 130 billion now. But we still have the lowest state pension payments in Europe by about 5%. It really is the lowest. So even with the triple lock, which we can't afford as a nation, even with that,
they do manage to grab it back though, Jasmine, because like as I've experienced myself with my father, he had an accident. He ended up in social care, and basically the amount that cost per year was ridiculous. You're talking 85,000 pound in a very average sort of care home, and he was 5 years in there, so basically wiped out everything that he'd ever worked for. You know? So they get it back.
But it's an inefficient system, and all that does is entrenches the inefficiency and the waste and the mismanagement.
Yes, agreed. We're having a visit from my cat. I've got 1.5 cats because I have this one and I have a stray that's visiting.
Turns up sometimes.
Needs his food.
I'd seen a few things over the last few months as well, Jasmine, about stocks and shares, of which I've got one, saying that we're due any time now a crash of some sort.
Yes, that's been said for a while, and it is getting the calls are getting louder, particularly when people like Michael Burry from The Big Short. Did you ever see The Big Short? And the guy who's played by Christian Bale. He has taken all his money out of the stock market. Basically, he's just shorting everything because he said, "Wow, it's so overvalued, particularly the big seven. Nvidia, Amazon. What's they called? The seven, whatever. He's taking it out. Warren Buffett has huge piles of cash, and Warren Buffett was stockpiling cash in the years before 2008 crash. So these are two really, really top investors, probably the top investors that we have in the world, going, nah, not bothering with it. So it does feel like there is going to be some sort of a crash. When it's going to come, how it's going to come, we don't know. It's a bit like, they say, how did you go bankrupt? And they said very slowly and then suddenly all at once. Like that, we're waiting for it and then suddenly, but it'll come through something that we weren't expecting. Just
and it normally takes about 5 years to recover to where it was. Is that about right?
I worry with the left-leaning governments that we've got that they will, and it wouldn't surprise me if the government's deliberately trying to crash the economy,
cause a crash,
so that they can go to the IMF. And then we're being meshed even more in Europe, even more than we were before we left.
I think the question is who's going to go to the IMF first, because France looks like it's ahead of us. I mean, they are the one country that's in Europe that's doing worse than us. Their debt to GDP levels are 114%, and they've had about 3 governments in the last 4 years. So anytime they try and make a little cut, like going, oh, maybe we shouldn't have 235 days off in the year, maybe we should make it 230. Suddenly they don't have a government. It all crashes, and that's so they could go to the IMF before us, in which case, all the cupboards will be bare by the time we go there.
What's your thoughts about gold as an investment?
I'm a big fan of gold, have been for a while. I'm pleased. So I've done quite nicely out of that. At the moment, I'm also very interested in silver, have been for a while. But a lot of people are saying, oh, gold's hit its peak. No, I really don't think it's about $4,000 at the moment around in dollars per ounce. Really? I think it'll go to 10. I think it could easily go to 10, which is not good news for the economy, because basically if gold's high, that means the world economy is shot. But silver is doing very well, and silver has much more of a use case than gold. That's the thing, as you will know from manufacturing, particularly electric vehicles, solar panels, pharmaceuticals, loads of things. And it was very interesting to see a few weeks ago that London, which is the place for physical silver, ran out. Totally ran out of silver, absolutely silver. You go to the silver vaults, you go, cupboard is bare, absolutely bare. They were chartering planes to come from New York to London to bring physical silver. I had a friend who ordered some Britannias, some silver Britannias. Took 6 weeks for him to get them. Usually you should just be able to get them over the counter.
Yeah.
No. So the fact that it's so difficult to get physical silver shows me that there's a huge demand and nowhere near enough supply.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite possible that China, for example, at some point will be pulling up the drawbridge and go,
Yes.
we're not giving you any silver, we're keeping all of our silver for us.
Yeah.
Because they're doing manufacturing.
As they've been doing with other rare earth metals and America, which is why a meeting with them to loosen things up, because these realised that they were going to run out of rare earths, and the American mining industry under Biden has been allowed to decline, and they've got to try and ramp it up again to at least give them a fighting chance.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm guessing then that, Jasmine, that you probably think the best solution all round for your finances is to don't count all your chickens, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Always.
There's a spread between ISA, pension, gold, silver, whatever, but have a mixed investment sort of scenario.
Always. It's my number one rule for investing is spread your bets. Never put all your eggs in one basket. As you say, have a diversified portfolio, which means spread your bets. And that's the thing. And if you've got it spread across various things, and I would definitely say gold, silver, possibly a bit of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's nice and low at the moment. It depends if you believe in it. If you don't believe
I've never really understood that one. That to me could just disappear.
That's fine. Certainly, I would say some shares. You might make sure that it's not as big a section of your portfolio as it might have been before. So there's that. I would personally not go for gilts. Those are government bonds. I wouldn't. I mean, would you lend to this government?
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't even give them a bucket full of bent washers.
No, exactly. Property is an interesting one. I think property is, certainly in London, it's going to crash. It seems to already have crashed a bit. If the budget has made sure that it's not crashing horribly. Because if we'd had the mansion tax being at 500,000, that would have been a problem. So I think it's not going to be so bad, but it feels like it's already crashing. But then it will go up later. So again, I've heard property developers say, I've got a lot of cash waiting for when things get really bad. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to buy everything because it'll go up later on. So that's something that's being said.
But of course, the worry is that some of the people buying that up will be
BlackRock.
Yeah,
they're already doing it. BlackRock, Vanguard, Lloyd's, John Lewis. They own a lot, and this is the sad thing, that you're getting rid of the individual.
Exactly. And we're the sort of nation of home owning citizens that Thatcher tried to create. They're dismantling it.
Yeah, they are dismantling. And there was one guy I was watching. He's very much a property developer, and he said, if somebody like the Duke of Westminster or Richard Branson went out and bought 600 properties in one go, there'd be an absolute uproar. But because it's some faceless company that nobody's heard, not even BlackRock, there are companies that we haven't heard of. Nobody takes a bit of notice, and they should. They really should.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very disappointing.
Yeah.
Well,
knock the stuffing out of Brian anyway.
At least I haven't frozen up like yesterday, which was very
that's true.
No technical problems.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I've mentioned moneymagpie.com enough. And then on Twitter, I'm Jasmine. Her. I am just Jasmine with an E. That's me. And then Instagram and TikTok. I'm going to have to
cover your lens up with your hand, Brian, and pull it away.
I'm going to have to go in a minute.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to have to go just quick. Do you mind if I answer the door?
No, you go for it.
Thank you. Sorry. Sorry about Sorry
That's
about
all right.
that. Have we finished largely? She said,
Yes, we're just trying to
Yeah.
summarise, and,
Yeah.
and what you were saying about, having a sort of a pluralist portfolio across
Yeah.
a spread over a range of assets, and we were just contrasting that with Mad Ed, and where if it's not renewable.
Yes,
then-
she doesn't
want
want it.
we're just trying to summarise, and,
Yes.
and what you were saying about, having a sort of a pluralist portfolio across a spread over a range of assets, and we were just contrasting that with Mad Ed, and where if it's not renewable, then
He doesn't want it.
Then you don't invest in it, and then you've got to hope for 24-hour daylight and 24-hour wind.
And actually, one tip I have, and this has been the case for a while now, is that if you're looking to invest in some companies that are likely to do well, go for the things that Ed Miliband doesn't go for.
Yes.
Go for, oil and gas. Yes. Mining companies.
Yes.
That's the area you need to look at.
I'm going to put all my money into
they're far more likely to dig us out of a hole than Ed Miliband is.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely.
Well, Jasmine, it's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been very enjoyable. Thanks. You must come back in, and we can review how things have gone.
Yes.
But when there's enough, you had enough time for the gilt markets to digest the budget.
But for now, you and your cat can go.
Thank you.
See you again.
I look forward to seeing you again.
See you then.
Bye-bye.